Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. Been a hot minute since I did a video for you guys, but I am, of course, super busy, but that doesn't mean that I can't record a video here and there, or even a review. So, I still, always go back to that statement that I've said so many times in the videos that, the products that I review have to deal with illustration art, creating art in some capacity, whether it's a electronic device, whether it's a display device, a tablet, whatever it is. If I'm going to review it, it really needs to apply to an artistic application. So the people at Frunsi, I guess Frunsi is a company name, reached out to me recently and they asked me to review something that I knew has been in the marketplace because I've actually owned one and used it a little bit here and there, and I always really endeavor to do a review, but after I used it for a short period of time, I felt like, even though it was good, it didn't really fit me. So, they reached out, and of course, they said, "Hey, would you like to review the product?" And I said, sure, why not? And I'll probably end up giving this particular product away. Here is the product right here. If you can see, here goes center. So it is a keypad for Procreate. Procreate, of course, being, if you're not familiar with Procreate, Procreate is a wonderful application for the iPad that has pencil support. So iPad, your iPad Air, some of those devices that came out in the past couple of years that have pencil support, and of course the all-important iPad Pro. I've owned an iPad Pro since, 2018, 2019, and previous to that I owned, I owned an iPad Pro 10.5. I think that's what it was, 10.9. It was the medium-sized one, and it was great, and I loved it, and I've worked on Procreate for quite a while. And Procreate's one of those programs that's really intuitive. It has an interface that is extremely simple to use, albeit they've layered things in that are a little more complex and to get to. And coming from an illustration background and also a professional background, I use quick keys. I use quick keys, keyboard quick keys, really fast, not macros. They're not macros per se, but they're quick keys, things on my keyboard that I use to really help my workflow. And this particular device is supposed to help you use Procreate in a more efficient way. I don't know how you could get more efficient whenever it comes to Procreate. Their interface is wonderful, and it's just really intuitive with the pinch and touch and all that other stuff. So, like I said, I had one of these before, and I used it for about an hour, and that's not really giving it a proper review or due. So that's why I chose to accept Frunsi's invitation to go ahead and review the Bluetooth connected keypad. So think of this as being similar to what I use whenever I use a Surface device. The quick key pad on the left hand side, right hand side, whatever handed you are, it's connected via Bluetooth, and you can pre-program it to fit your needs and use quick keys whenever a keyboard's not present. So I'm going to do a really quick unboxing, just a 3/4 view, and then I'm going to get into drawing. Now remember, this particular review is not for the drawing process or the Procreate application. This is for this particular device, the Frunsi keypad for Procreate. So we're going to get into it as what I like to refer to as a layman. So laymen are people or individuals that come into a situation that know nothing about the situation. However, I'm kind of not a layman because I used it for an hour. Now, I am partial to the interface on Procreate and not adding another layer of difficulty in learning. And that's one of the things that you have to really understand whenever you get into this. If I had used this from the beginning in Procreate, it'd probably be the most essential tool that I've ever used. But I started Procreate way back when, back in the day, whenever Procreate first came out, and I've learned the interface, I've learned the quick keys, I've learned pinch and pull and merge and all that other stuff. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into this review. Hopefully you guys Again, forgive me for being such long-winded, but there has to be context. You know, I don't want to say, hey, I'm reviewing a device today, and let's get into it. So there needs to be context, especially if you're coming to this channel to kind of evaluate and review whether or not you need to spend your money on this device. I think this is retails on Amazon for about $35 to $40. You know, that's a lot of money, guys. Let's be honest, 35, 40 bucks. Especially whenever it has to do with electronics. You want things to last, you want things to be applicable to you. So hopefully this will be something that you can look at and say yay or nay, yes or no. And at the end, I'll give my recommendation based upon what I experience in this review. So let's get started. Okay, and here's what I received in the mail. And so far, it's just a box. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too big, and it shows a picture of the item on the front with some of the details, and of course the company logo. I believe it probably comes in different colors because this indicates that this one's black. It also comes in white, and of course the all-elusive pink color or salmon. So, wireless chargeable keyboard new. Let's go ahead and open it up. Hopefully I don't cut my hand. Okay. Put this to the side. And we get into the box. Fit and finish of the box is pretty nice. The quality of the cardboard's good. It's nice and thick. It doesn't seem too cheap. And they taped it shut, which is nice. So I get into it here. For Procreate. Here's the instructions. Pretty standard stuff. Of course, it's all in, looks like Chinese. So I will not be able to read that. Yeah, completely in Chinese. This is, let's go ahead and flip it over. Maybe it's in, okay, here we go. So it looks like these are the instructions. User manual. It indicates you need to charge the device. It's got a 280 milliamp rechargeable battery. Get it started. Push right, forward, on, off, to the left, okay. Run the Bluetooth setup assistant on your iPad and select WK1 from the list for pairing connections. And then of course it gives you the all-important function of each button. And it doesn't look like you can modify it. So that is interesting. I think that's one of the things that I ran into before whenever I used a very similar device to this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of the instructions. Who needs the instructions? Okay, and then we have the device itself. So it's in a little plastic baggie. Here's the device. And here is the charge cable. So let's get rid of the box. Nobody needs the box. Okay, we'll undo the cable. So let's look at this interface here. So lots of interesting, that looks like settings, that looks like a selection marquee tool, eraser, that looks like a pencil, undo and redo. That's a Bluetooth pairing button along with, I don't know what those two are. That looks like a refresh, full screen. That looks like it's the color wheel and full screen here. Here's the color dropper, and here's the quick menu. Fit and finish is good. It's got little rubber pads. Plastic qualities, probably a C+. It looks and feels pretty cheap, you know, but you gotta cut costs somewhere, right? So here's the, looks like a USB, standard USB charge cable. And there's the charge port right there, and off and on. Let's see if it has a charge. Yes, it does. Excellent. So let's go ahead and pair up with the iPad. Okay, so I've got my iPad set up here at my desk. I've got it on a, so you can, again, context. I've got it on a little pedestal here. You can see the little boo-boo right here. My apologies for that. That's what happens when you let your teenage son play with your iPad. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do a setup. So it's off right now in the off position. So we're going to go ahead and turn on. You're going to see a red light appear right here. Go ahead and hit Settings. Go to Bluetooth. And we're going to hold down the button that has the Bluetooth icon until it flashes, or not flashes, until it goes solid blue. We're going to look. Keyboard, WK1. Okay, we're going to press that, and it's connected. So then we're going to go to Procreate. And let's launch one of my previous drawings. So we're going to go ahead and press a few of the buttons to make sure everything's okay. So here's the layers button. It brings up the layer. Okay, and then we're going to go to the color wheel. That's pretty cool. Let's go to full screen or selection tool. That's the selection marquee. Brings up your selection tab at the bottom. Here's the freehand selection tool. Let's go full screen. Full screen. So that's just a first dip into what this device is capable of. So getting in here, making sure my pencil is charged. Again, yeah, we're fine. We're at 22%. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get into it. So let's go back to the gallery, and we're going to let's do screen size, and voila. Let's go ahead and turn up the brightness a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to try my hardest to make sure and use this device. Okay, and we're going to go back. We don't want full screen. Yeah, we do want full screen. So brushes, pencil, brushes. Okay, so again, I'm pressing the buttons here on the remote that's paired with the program. So I can press here, it brings up my brushes. Now, here's the deal. So push and pull, let's go ahead. What does this do? Oh, okay. So these buttons right here have to do with brush size. So right now, and then we go, boom. So you can tell that this is going to take some learning. Typically, what I tell students is 2 weeks. It'll take 2 weeks for you to really get this molded into you and start the muscle memory. If you're willing to really put in the time to do that, I think this device may be a great tool, because what it does is it emulates what a quote-unquote professional would utilize in a professional studio setting. Everybody works a little bit different, but from my experience, whenever you're working in a studio setting, you have your drawing tablet in front of you, you have your pencil right here, and you have your quick keys on the left-hand side, because you have typically in a studio setting similar to what I have behind me, which would have my drawing tablet, and then I'd have my keyboard left hand side, and I sit here and I use my left hand to do all the quick keys while my right hand draws. Procreate has kind of alleviated that, because you can sit here and you can draw and you're like, okay, and you just press your two buttons or your two fingers, instead of having to do this here. Okay. Now, it just depends on what your workflow is. Do I think this is a viable option for those people who are just starting out in Procreate and maybe don't want to learn the interface? Absolutely. I think that the reality is like I said, we all draw a little bit different, and we have to realize that, it does take time to see. My natural inclination, what I was going to say is to learn these interfaces. It took me a while to learn Procreate. So my first inclination after I just made that little mistake is to use the interface, or is to use the size over here on the left hand side. But I don't want to do that. So I want to go ahead and use my quick key. Okay. And this is, I'm not doing anything, I haven't started the drawing yet. I'm just literally trying to get used to the interface here, because again, it just takes time, guys. I do like it. It is a nice device. You know, whoops. But is it going to replace, yeah, see here, and then 3 fingers would be redo, 2 fingers would be undo. So it's Procreate really has created a quote unquote software ecosystem that works for the user. I mean, it's so good, and you know, adding another layer to an already existing great program, it just makes you want to, yeah, see, now that I've got my quick keys, I want to be able to move it around, right? So I'm trying to figure out, what is the move around? Typically move around in Procreate is 2 fingers, right? I want to use, you know, in my interface whenever I'm on the desktop tablet, I'll hit the space bar and that brings up a little hand that moves things around. See, I've already kind of switched over. I'm trying to figure out quick menu. No. See, I'm literally trying to figure this out as I go. Go back to brush. Good. Done. Go up to color palette. Go back to black. And undo. It's not bad. You know, like I said, if I was coming at this as a person that, you know, had never used Procreate before, I'm like, yeah, that would actually be pretty sweet. I still have to zoom in and out. I wonder if there's a way. Full screen, what is that? Oh, that's color balance. Okay, no, we're gonna get out of that. Okay. 2, 3, 4, full screen. And that brings it back to white. Okay. Literally, I keep fighting myself. Yeah, so this is an interesting device. This is one of those devices where you have somebody that probably is sitting there and, you know, at their desk or whatever, and they've used a desktop app for a long time. Let's go ahead and shrink this down a little bit. And they're like, oh, I want to be able to use a quick key remote. Let's go ahead and have this come out here like this. I'm literally just having some fun. Just trying to get used to the really quick interface. This isn't any particular character. It's not Donald, it's not Daffy, it's just a duck. Go ahead and give him some wild hair. I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now is I want to be able to zoom in and out, and I don't see that on here. I don't see a zoom. Okay, so we're gonna use the pinch and zoom as we normally would in Procreate. It really creates kind of a dichotomy of action here, because it's gonna mullet. Because I really want to do, let's make that brush a little bit bigger. I really want to utilize the device, but I'm still having to use some of those Procreate actions, which is completely fine. You can combine both of them. Let's give him some 5 o'clock shadow. Let's make that brush a little bit smaller. Okay. So now we're going to go to this. And see, I'm still going to have to, see, literally, I still have to go back and I have to create a layer. Yeah. Seems pretty rudimentary. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be too critical And I know you can do a lot of things with this device, but is it a catch-all? No. Let's do like a blue duck, brown duck, light brown. There we go. Okay, bigger brush, bigger brush. Bigger brush. Let's go with opacity 100%. Now, obviously, those of you who use Procreate are like, this device is completely useless. And to some extent, I would agree with you, but you got to remember, some people are so used to using a device or quick keys, coming into Procreate is a disconnect. So this would be kind of a, I would believe, a bridge device, possibly. And you're like, well, you know, Procreate is so good. And I'm like, yeah, Procreate is really good. Let's go ahead and give him kind of a yellow beak. Okay. Let's go ahead and, I made a boo-boo. Let's go back. Let's do alpha lock. So now whenever I paint, it won't go out of the brown. So you still have to utilize the interface for Procreate. You can't rely upon this remote for every action pertaining to the drawing process. So let's go back. Let's get rid of alpha lock. And then hit that. Literally, it's like, again, me being a Procreate user, I'm having to fight the urge to just get in there and use my left hand to do a bunch of things, you know. And I don't know. I want to be positive. I don't see the need for it, right? Let's give him some pink hair. Yeah, I can already see myself fighting. I'm literally fighting all my urges. Fighting my urges to do things in Procreate. Those of you who use Procreate completely understand. Yep, see? Yeah. I love using Procreate. I don't use it as much as I probably should because I'm so addicted to my Surface devices and using full apps. And two, creating a device and having a business model based upon a program, first, that you don't own. You know, these people, the Frunsi people, don't own Procreate, so they're creating a device based upon an ever-changing variable, which is the Procreate app. So let's go ahead and what are we doing? So let's go ahead into that. Let's go here. Let's make it a little bit lighter. Go back up. You can see how I'm fighting. It's a battle. It's an okay device. I mean, it's doing exactly what it said it's supposed to be doing. You know, so you can't really knock it for that. You know, what is the difference between, you know, here I have my two hands separate and I'm doing this on the left hand side. What's the difference? I mean, what's the real need when I could just put my hand here and I can go here? You know, literally, that's kind of where we're at. It's like, what do you prefer? You know, and then I can just do this. So it's like, yeah. So here, and then we come here. See the difference? I'm literally, it makes no real sense for me to have this device when I can do everything in Procreate, right? And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just looking at it from a real a real world standpoint. That's not even, isn't it? Yeah, that's a word. A real world view, because, you know, Procreate is so good and they've kind of set things up to where it works with you and not against you. See, I would still have to come here and do this because this remote doesn't really allow for creating creating new layers and doing layer adjustments, I still have to come over here to the Procreate interface. Literally, this is exactly what you would probably go through whenever you get the device. Let's go ahead and change this purple, green. Let's go to green. Okay. You would come in here and you would say, well, why am I doing this when I can just go into Procreate interface and do this, So let's go back here. Instead of punching here, I guess, if you're not used to Procreate, maybe you could try. Okay, here. Okay, punch that. And then I still have to zoom in, and let's go ahead and make that smaller. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a real drawing, and just kind of, through the time lapse, you can see me use the device, see me, kind of switch back and forth, and I'm sure that I'm going to have frustration. So be patient. Hopefully we'll come out with a good drawing on the other side, and I'll have a real understanding and review, because like I said, I use this, literally, here's the other device that I bought, and here's, you can see it is the exact same device. So all they did was put a tampo print on the device, and this is made by a company, or actually this is distributed by a company called YesWord, and you can see literally it is the exact same device. And that happens. You have a company that purchases products like this, and they'll just slap a tampo print on it and not manufacture it, but they'll distribute it. It is exactly the same device. So, like I said, I used the YesWord for a while, and it was not something that I thought would be integrated into my workflow, but I'm going to go ahead and do the review anyway. So enjoy the time lapse. Okay, so what you're seeing me do right now is start the illustration that I originally intended to do. Sometimes I'll do just a warm-up little drawing ditty, and that's what you saw before, kind of getting used to the controls. Now I sat down and took a good while just to draw something that I thought was really going to put the item to the test. Now, if you watch my left hand, and this is one of the things that Procreate's really good at, is the drawing process is pretty simple. You just zoom in and out, change the brush size. So I didn't really have to do that a lot, just because of the way that I draw. Now, I did zoom in using my right hand, as you see, zooming in and out, moving the drawing around, and going so on and so forth, getting the composition right, getting the character right. And of course, you see, if you're not familiar with this particular character, this is Stimpy from Ren and Stimpy, and I'm actually drawing both of the characters in this particular drawing. This little sketch rough is based on just some character art that was out in the marketplace, and this is just my interpretation. Obviously, I originally intended to do not so much a voiceover, but rather a narration through as I drew in real time, but by the time I got done, it was like an hour and 30 minutes. So I spent just about 45 minutes. The entire video was like an hour and 30 minutes. So, from start to finish, I think the drawing, by the time I inked it and did the color on it, I think it was like maybe 45 minutes total. But, I don't want to bash the controller too much, because, somebody out there is really going to need this. I'm always one to have an open mind, especially whenever it comes to electronics or some type of device that aids you, in drawing. And did this do its job as described? Absolutely. It did its job as described. It paired very well. It's got a clear interface as far as the keyboard layout goes. I didn't so much like the fact that I couldn't program the keys, but on the other hand, I'm thinking of it from the standpoint of a person that maybe doesn't use Procreate that much, or they just got an iPad and they want to get into drawing in Procreate and they don't want to learn the interface. And from that viewpoint, yeah, this would be a great option for them. Me, somebody who has used Procreate for quite a while, it really was inhibiting me from doing a lot of the things that I normally do in my normal workflow, because I've developed a workflow for Procreate. There was no lag, there was no anything like that, and the device in and of itself, like I said, did its job, so I can't really complain about that. I wish that you see me occasionally move the drawing around using my two fingers. If there was an additional key that had a little hand on it that emulated that two-finger touch and moved the screen around, I think that would help me out a little bit, because that's one of my main things I do. I move the drawing around quite a bit just to get a better feel of what I'm supposed to do next. And a lot of times you'll see me hesitate, or I'll zoom in and out, and those things are indicative of my workflow. You can see I'm trying to find the right brush, which I got a ton of brushes. Sometimes that works against you too. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some music on and let you guys watch and relax and enjoy the inking process. And then I'll throw some color in there, simple color, and we'll do a quick wrap up and an outro. Okay? Thank you guys. this is where I landed. So it definitely was an experience that I'm going to go ahead and file away into my brain as done. And that's the way it goes sometimes, you know. I'm not going to speak ill will or negative about the product, because even if it doesn't fit my particular workflow, I have to think of that individual that needs a bridge device, something that goes from a desktop or you know, something that transitions them from the keyboard over to the iPad. You know, the iPad is a closed ecosystem. It's you know, Procreate's been on the iPad since the beginning. Man, what an incredible moment it would be if Procreate created a program for the desktop. That would be incredible. But that's not what this review is about. It's about that particular device, the Frunsi Quick Key Remote. The downfall, I think, about this device is you can't program it. I would like to be able to program the keys. You know, I've got other devices that I utilize. From SenseLab has a great quick key remote, and XP Pen that I've used for years and years, that I transition among different devices. But the reality is, at $40, it's about $37 and change on Amazon.com, and you can click on the link below. It's not an affiliate link. I don't get any money from it below. It's just an opportunity for you to go and look at the device and decide for yourself. And you can see what it costs. But based upon this particular review, you know, I said I'd give my opinion whether I recommended it or not. For me, I'm probably not going to utilize it, just because I've gotten so used to Procreate, the interface, the way that it you know, that you can do certain things, and once you kind of get it in you, I just don't want to have to carry another quick, you know, I don't want to have to carry a quick key remote whenever I go out and draw into the wild and stuff like that. If you have it in your studio and you want to utilize it and you're used to those quick keys on the left-hand side, then yeah, I mean, it might work for you. I really don't know. That's kind of one of those variables, and sometimes it's kind of frustrating for viewers whenever they go to a channel like this and they want that definitive yes or no. That's the challenge. Art, and especially the way we do art, it changes so much. But for me, I probably won't use it. And if I had, and honestly, I bought the other device a year ago, and I used it for an hour and determined immediately that I didn't, you know, foresee myself using it. And I could have returned it, but in my mind, you know, back in the mind, I thought to myself, you know, one day I'll do a review. And of course, the Frunsi people reached out to me. So what do you get from this video? Basically, it does exactly what it advertises. Exactly what it advertises. It pairs with the iPad very easily. It's got a large 2600 milliamp battery, so it keeps its charge. And it works well with Procreate. The individual is the variable, right? The user. That's where we kind of run into the hiccup. As a professional, I probably would not use it. And that sucks. For the Frunsi people that sent this device to me, you know, but on the other hand, you got this shiny new iPad. It's the first time going into Procreate, and the interface is so confusing, and it's overwhelming you, and it's frustrating you, and you don't know what you're doing. Then I would say a device like this would be a great kind of primer starter device. If you don't want to learn that interface in Procreate, this kind of gets you started very quickly. And in that context, yeah, I would recommend it. Don't you hate it when YouTubers do this? Oh my goodness. Just make a decision. I need to make a decision. Come on, man. Make a decision for me. I'm not going to make that decision for you, because it's going to be different for every person, right? So, that being said, man, what a fun time I had drawing in Procreate. It's been a while since I've done that, but I really enjoy doing that. And we've actually got a couple more reviews coming. A company called Gnomon reached out to me. I was like, Gnomon, that's interesting. And they create tablets and display tablets and drawing tablets, and they're going to send me one of their drawing tablets to review. Something inexpensive and possibly could be a great resource for you guys as an alternative to Wacom or XP Pen or Huion or some of those other companies. And of course, XP Pen is sending me a new latest and greatest display tablet. We'll see how that drives. And of course, as always, I always look at the products from the viewpoint of an illustrator, artist, somebody in the professional workplace that makes sure that the product does exactly what it says it does, and I put it through its paces, actually using it the way it's designed, not just doing a line test, not just looking at it, not just saying, oh, it's pretty. I want to actually hook it up and come at it from a distinct point of view that makes sense. You know, you guys come to my channel for a no frills, honest opinion. And in this particular video about the Frunsi remote, albeit a little complex, it is honestly, you know, a different device, and hopefully you guys can get my true attitude from it, which is, if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then do what I did and just throw it in a, you know, either return it or throw it throw it in a drawer. So anyway, that's all for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you like what you see. And as always, go out and do something fun, draw, create, and, you know, win. Win every day. Thank you guys, and we'll see you soon, okay? Bye.